Hey everybody, David here, and today I want to talk about Wandavision episode 5 on a very special episode. And yes, a very special episode indeed. Wow, this is Marvel's way of dropping the mic and saying, okay, DC, your turn next, because well, let's get into it and then I'll say why. First, we start off this episode with the babies crying. You know, little Tommy and little Billy, they're crying. Wanda's trying to get, I think it was Billy to sleep. I forgot which one was which, but she was trying to get one of them to sleep while Vision was trying to get the other, but they were both having trouble getting these kids to go to sleep. Wanda even tries using her magic on them, but instead they both chuckle a little bit. And Wanda's like wondering what the heck is going on. How come you guys, this is not funny. I'm trying to make you sleep and you're not sleeping. And then all of a sudden, Agnes walks in, and Vision's like, this is where some of the cracks in the show start showing, and Vision is like realizing it now that he's already been sniffing it out, but it becomes even more clear for Vision that something is going on. And so when Agnes gets there, you know, she there's an awkward moment where she's like, hey, they're talking, and I forgot what was said, but eventually an awkward moment happens where Agnes says, do you want to take it back from take one or something like that? And Wanda's like, what? Sorry? And and that's where Vision is like, okay, something is going on here, and nobody's like gonna be concerned about this. Wanda, though, decides to brush it off. Eventually, the kids do become quiet, and it's not for what we think. At first, I thought, oh, maybe Agnes got the kids to start sleeping, but no, apparently the kids decided to grow up very quick. They become like 5-year-old kids. And then it's like, okay. So things are rapidly changing with this family. We then go back to Sword headquarters. Well, not headquarters, but outside of Wanda's television Westview, I guess. And we find out that Monica, she reveals that when she was inside Wanda's bubble, she wasn't aware of what was going on, and most likely the other characters aren't aware as well. We already know for a fact, though, that Agnes, although we've already suspected Agnes of something, and Herb. I think Herb was the second character who showed signs that I think he's kind of aware of kind of what's going on. We don't really know exactly how much Herb knows. We do know that she didn't trust Geraldine and that she knew that she was someone from out there. But remember, he was about to tell Wanda or Vision something until Agnes shut him up. So it makes you wonder, how much does Herb know what's going on? Agnes, we are fully aware that she knows something is up, because I think this episode strengthened the idea even more that Agnes is somehow behind this, because she's the only one that broke the wall, I guess, the barrier, and was like, hey, Wanda, why don't we take it back from take one, right? And Wanda didn't, punish her like she did to Monica or anything. She just like, okay, let's take it back. And she even later on in the episode uses her powers in front of Agnes. So that's already telling that I think Agnes is definitely behind this. If it wasn't clear already, this episode, I feel, made it clear that Agnes is somehow tied into all of this. And then, later in the episode, or let's stick with Sword for a little bit. So Sword, Monica explains what's going on. Director Hayward acts a little bit like an asshole to both Jimmy and Darcy. I like the little one on, Jimmy tells, I usually don't say anything negative about people. And then Darcy's like, oh, don't worry, I'll say it for you. He's a dick. I thought that was pretty funny. but they're all like talking about what's been going on, and yeah, Hayward is making Wanda look like the enemy, but I like how Monica is like, no, something's wrong here. Even though yes, she has a town full of hostages, she hasn't been hurting anybody or anything like that. It's like she created her own little quarantine bubble, and she's not harming anybody in there. Everybody that's in there is still safe and sound. But in some way, I see Hayward's point, but in some ways, Monica's making a lot of great valid points, and Hayward does show a little bit of shadiness later on when they send the drone in, and that he says to start shooting at Wanda. But before I get to that part, I'm jumping here and there, so go with me, guys. Before that happens, we see the kids again, and they're at the sink in the kitchen, and they find Wanda comes in and sees them, and like, what's going on, guys? And she hears a dog bark, and we find out that a dog has come into the house, and the kids look like they're playing with him, and Wanda and Vision. Vision comes in afterwards. So does Agnes, and eventually, Visions and Wanda tell the kids, "Look, you can't have a dog until you're at least 10." And what happens? Well, the kids decide to grow up fast again, and they grow to 10 years of age, from 5 to 10 years of age. We've seen them go from babies to 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, all in one episode. Okay, the kids get to keep it. Vision and Wanda still have a little intense, not too intense, that comes later, a conversation. So Vision goes to work, to get his mind off things, or at least Wanda's hoping that he'll get his mind off things. But when he gets to work, we find out that he sees Norm. There's some weird computer thing happening with a message. I must have missed the part where how that message gets into the computer, and Vision starts acting like, hey, what the heck is this? And everybody in here is reading it and seems to find it funny. It's like, what the heck? So he touches Norm's head to release him from whatever this spell is, and Norm is like, help me, you got to get me out of here. She has us under her control. Notice though, she never says exactly who has her under their control. He's just saying her. He never specifically states Wanda, so Norm puts him back, and he just presumes or Vision puts Norm back under the spell to keep him calm. And so he starts speculating that it's Wanda. I still don't think it's Wanda. I think he was referring to Wanda. I think he was referring to Agnes. The question is, what's Agnes going to gain from all of this? If it is her, if I'm right, if my theory is right, that she is still somehow behind this, which I think she is, the episode gives reason to believe that Wanda has some control, but it also shows us in this episode that she doesn't have total control. So later on, there is a scene with Darcy, Monica, and Jimmy Woo that about they have a little bit of a conversation about Wanda. And there was a little name drop. Captain Marvel gets a name drop. And some people have been pointing out how when Monica hears Captain Marvel's name, she gets a little not too happy about it. And they also, it gets name dropped because it's talked about how Scarlet Witch, not Scarlet Witch. They also make a fact that no one's ever called her the Scarlet Witch yet in this universe, in the MCU yet. I think she'll be getting that name by the end of this season. I think that her name will be finally proposed to her by the end of it. But yeah, I think it's Monica that mentions that how Wanda could have beaten Thanos on her own. And when she asks, could anybody else have? And Jimmy is the one that says, well, I think Captain Marvel could have. She held her own against Thanos pretty well, too. So they both come with valid points. And that's when Monica's like, she kind of gets upset and doesn't want to talk about her. Both Darcy and Jimmy both notice that. I think they won't touch upon too much of that in the show going forward. I think since we know Monica is going to show up in Captain Marvel too, I think they'll touch more upon that, why she's mad at her in that film. But I'm curious what the real reason is. I think the reason is the obvious reason. Captain Marvel promised she'd be back and she never did return. It's been over, 20, 30 years? 1995? I don't know how long that is. 95, 2005. Yeah, it's been over 25 years. So, I'm going to guess they'll pick that back up in Captain Marvel too. Back in Wanda's vision, or Wanda's vision. Yeah, I guess so. They send the drone in and Wanda sees the drone and dismantles it. And instead of just throwing it out like she did to Monica, Wanda decides to bring it out herself and gives a very threatening response to all the agents of S.W.O.R.D. Monica tries to calm down the situation, which I love Monica, man. I am loving this character more and more we see her. I liked her first appearance in episode 2, but episode 3 and onward, I have been loving her character so much. I think all the actors are doing a terrific job, but Monica is becoming a really cool character, man. And I love seeing her stick up. She's like trying to help Wanda and figure it out. She knows Wanda is not evil. Hayward is becoming as Darcy says, a dick. And you see it in this scene, and Wanda just shows, you better not mess with me because I can control you all if I want. And you better watch out. And she has all of Hayward's men point their guns at him, so you better be careful. And she walks back into her thing. Before she does, though, Monica does say, "Hey, what can we help you with? What can we offer you to reason with you?" And she says, "You can't offer me nothing. What I have, what you can give me, I already have. And you're not going to take that away from me." Again, and that's why she points all the guns at Hayward. So she goes inside. That was like a crazy intense moment. And things just get more intense from here because Vision now gets back home. Once Wanda gets inside. First the dog situation. They find the dog eventually because the dog runs off at some point in the episode. And they do find the dog with Agnes, the kids, and Wanda. And unfortunately, the dog dies. And earlier on, the kids do ask, "Hey, do you have a brother?" And she gets stunned. She starts thinking about Pietro. And later, when they find the dog dead, they say, "Why can you bring him back to life? Can you bring the dog back? Please, Mom, you can do anything." Agnes at first is like, "Wait, you can do that? You can do something like that?" And Wanda hesitates a little bit. And this is where there's still some confusion of what's going on, I think. And so when Vision comes, he gives the kids a hug and says, "Hey, look, this is what it is, man. This is life, we have to feel for loss." And eventually, when they get back home later that night, the kids go to bed, I guess. And Wanda and Vision are talking about the day. And Vision confirms what he saw with Norm. He says, "Hey, look, I saw Norm. I took out his mind wipe." Wanda is angry because she's like, "Look, you think I can actually control all these people? I can't." And there's this huge argument. I thought this scene at the end with Wanda and Vision arguing was great. The acting was amazing from both Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen. Elizabeth Olsen, man, throughout this entire episode is fantastic. And Paul Bettany gets some time to shine in this episode as well, specifically this scene where they're both arguing with one another and the credits are going up. Like Wanda's trying to brush this all under the table. Yeah, we can end this conversation now. But Vision's like, no, I don't give a shit about the credits. We're going to talk about this right now. And it gets really intense to the fact where both of them start levitating and you think a fight is going to break out. It doesn't get that far. And suddenly the doorbell rings and you're thinking, okay, what's going on? Who's this? And of course we know that a big major guest star is coming. And I'm like thinking, okay, is this who... I thought this was going to happen in episode 6. And I still wonder if the big guest star that was hinted at from Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany, if this is the person or not. I don't think it is. We'll see next week because next week is episode 6. But if it is, I'm telling you, the way that this scene was done, I don't know if this is what Elizabeth Olsen was comparing the Luke Skywalker moment to in The Mandalorian to this. But if it was, I'm going to tell you right now, my feelings during this scene was very similar to how it was revealed. Because it was is it? Isn't it? So I had like I had 2 choices in my head. So as the scene was going, I'm like thinking, is this going to be Ian McKellen as Magneto like a lot of rumors are pointing at? Or is this going to be someone else? And as the scene keeps going and you see the back of the hair, the silver hair, I'm like, oh, Aaron Taylor Johnson. Oh, cool. So she did bring her brother back to life. And then, we're seeing Sword's perspective as well throughout this entire episode, throughout this entire scene. And they show the face of Quicksilver, but it's not the Quicksilver that we thought it was. It's Evan Peters from the X-Men franchise, showing that, hey, the multiverse is at play. And that's where what the reference I made in the beginning, Marvel just said, hey, DC, hold my beer. You did your Crisis on Infinite Earths. Here's our little multiverse. We're just getting started. Holy shit, man. The way it was revealed, too, I was not expecting that. I thought, wow. I still have my hesitations at what exactly is going on, though. But yes, if this is what we think it is, this could explain how Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire will show up in the Spider-Man movies. Maybe this is a cause of Wanda. Who knows? But this is really interesting. To see Evan Peters from the X-Men franchise now as her brother Pietro. And the reason I'm still hesitant about it, if he's actually playing the Quicksilver from Days of Future Past, or if he's really playing a neighbor or someone from the town who she just happened to pick, and this is all a little ruse, and that maybe he's not really Pietro, maybe he's just someone in the town who she just decided to pick to be her brother for the show. Because when he's introduced, even though we think, oh shit, Quicksilver, he is not playing it the same way. Like, he gave a more like, yo bro, like kind of attitude, a very different character choice than how he played it in the actual X-Men films. Now maybe they just did it for this scene. I have to see how they continue to play with this in the next episode. Because if he's still acting off from how his character was in the actual X-Men franchise, I think that could be a clue that maybe he is not from the multiverse. Maybe he's just and this is just the writer's way of making us think it's the multiverse, but then we're going to find out next week. No, he just happens to be a town person that maybe Agnes or Wanda picked to play her brother. Because Darcy is the one that said, she recast Pietro. I don't think it was her, because even Wanda looked surprised. So I don't think Wanda even knew that this was going to happen. I'm telling you, Agnes is behind all of this. I don't trust that neighbor at all. I think she is doing shit to mess with Wanda. Wanda says she doesn't even know how this all started. I I'm starting to think she doesn't. I don't think she knows how it all started. And I think she is fuzzy on some details. I think she asked for something. She got a life that she's loving right now, but I don't think she knows entirely how she got it. I'm going to agree with that. We'll see. Maybe her mind was wiped. Certain details, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. But 4 more episodes left. Holy shit. This show is getting better and better with each episode. Episode 1 and 2, I really enjoyed a lot. I like that old school television feel that those 2 episodes were really catching on. But then the subtle little details, the little hints that something more is going on as they give more and more each episode, I am loving. And yeah, I can't wait to see what happens in the last 4 episodes. It's going to be a long 4 weeks, but I am loving every minute that they give us each week. So with that being said, guys, tell me your thoughts. What did you think of this episode? What do you think of Evan Peters showing up as Quicksilver? Do you think he actually is the Quicksilver from the X-Men franchise? Or do you think that this is the producers, this is Marvel's way of giving us a little wink to the camera that, yes, we know he played Quicksilver, but really he's going to turn out to be something else. Like he's going to be someone that lived in the town that they just happen, like Norm, how Norm is someone and his mind is being taken over and making him think he's some guy working in the town happy, but really he's being manipulated. Maybe that's what this guy is, and he's being manipulated to make him think that he's Wanda's brother because Wanda was thinking about bringing someone back from the dead. Who knows? Tell me your thoughts. Do you think Agnes is evil? I want to know anything that anybody else is thinking of because this episode just dropped a bombshell on us. And who knows what's going to happen next. So maybe we will see another guest star. We'll see. I hope you guys liked this video. Please subscribe to my channel. And until next time, everybody, take care.